David, this is Nana. Today is December 16, 1987, and I would like to talk to you about times long past and places very far away when I was a little girl. Let me take you back to a little village in eastern Czechoslovakia, where I was born, the seventh child of Simon and Charlotte Weinberger. It was a small village consisting just of 3 streets. There was the wide main street, and at the end of it was like a T formation, and there were 2 streets, one to the left and one to the right. Our house was to the left. It was the biggest house there, so you could see it the minute you turned the corner. I loved my childhood there. There was so much space to run around, roam, and we were doing all kinds of games. We had total freedom. The thing I want to talk about is happened exactly in this month. Czechoslovakia has very hot summers and very cold winters. And if snowfall started like in November, by the time the middle of December came, there was snow that was so higher than I. You couldn't see me from one side of the street to the other. But we loved it, and we played in it, and we were carrying on. That day, we took a sleigh ride. There were no cars in those days, darling. There were just carriages during the summer and the sleighs in the winter. Now you might see those sleighs now, maybe in the museums, or sometimes it's like the outside was lacquered red, the inside it was lined with black, and sometimes with fur, but ours wasn't lined with fur because Father used it whenever he went on business, and he could not be bothered with such luxuries. And we had to go pick up some documents in the nearest village, which was like maybe 5 kilometers away. That was a big distance in those days. And my sister Rose was the one who manned the horses, 2 horses in the carriage. And we piled in the back, I think everybody who just, one on top of the other. And we went through the sleigh, through the snow. It was beautiful white. Everything was white wherever you looked. And it was very quiet. They could only go around on sleighs, and you could not hear them. So the horses had little bells around their neck. And while we were going, those bells were ringing constantly. Well, we were thrilled with our trip, and we spent the day in that other village visiting some distant relatives, and then we started back for home. It was late in the afternoon. It started getting dark. There in the winter, around 4 o'clock, it was really like halfway dark. Everybody went inside. I, for some reason, stood on the outside. The house was surrounded by a walk. There were no basements, but the house was elevated from the ground. And at that elevation, it was like 2 feet wide, like a balcony without rails, without a handrail. And that's where I was standing, because from the corner of it, I could see the road that we were on before. It was like a break in the houses across the street. I could see the house at the far end. I could see the woman feeding the chickens, throwing grains, and the chickens were loud. I could hear them all the way to my house. I could see the little bus, which went once a day, passing on the road where we were before. And I could see the lights coming on there were very small windows in those houses. Those little windows, little squares, lit up. And then I looked at the whole picture, and it was the road and the woman feeding the chickens and the geese. And I was standing there, and the stars started coming out. It was a beautiful night, and I said to myself, I want to remember this picture for as long as I live. Wherever I go, I want to remember this picture. And I looked at it, and you know, darling, I remember it like I would see it right now. I just made up my mind, I want to remember it. And then I realized that there is not too far that I could see, except there the road. And I remember the discussion the day before where my aunt came with some pictures. Her daughter took a vacation to the shores of Italy, to the sea. And I have never seen the sea except on maybe maps where it's painted blue. And they were beautiful pictures with little boats and the beach and the blue water of the Adriatic Sea. And as I was standing that night there, saying to myself, I will remember this picture wherever I go, all of a sudden I was thinking, will I ever see a sea? Will I ever see an ocean? And I got very worried that I will never see an ocean. It was like far away. It was like a fairy tale to go that far. And as it would happen in life, when I left there in my 20s, wherever I went, I was near an ocean. I was in Italy on the Adriatic. I was in New York on the Atlantic. I am here in San Diego on the Pacific. And for a short while in Israel, I was on the Mediterranean. So I covered it very well. I really saw the oceans. But it was a thrill. It was for somebody who comes from the middle of the country, of a continent where there is no such thing. It's just in a fairy tale. And transportation isn't what it was today. It is something very, very significant. I loved the winters, but then there was a bad side to it. You had to clean all the boots at night. And there was a lot of us. We were a lot of kids. I was the seventh child. And I had my brother Murray, who lives here in San Diego. He's younger than me. So we were a house full. And that I didn't like, when all the clothes were thrown down and you had to clean the boots, and I tried to get away, get lost somewhere, and they found me. Get out of that corner, you do your share. And but I liked the summers. We had land not far from the village. Our family owned that land since they came to the area. That must have been like 100 years before that. And whenever they went to work on the land, I went with them. And the minute school was out, I was there all the time, because I loved the quiet. I loved the quiet. It was the same in the fields as it was on that snow-covered road. And that is gone today. There is nowhere. I only encountered it once, when your grandpa and I set out to go to Montreal for Thanksgiving and got caught in a snowstorm and wound up in Saratoga Springs in New York State. And there was 26 inches of snow on the floor, on the ground. And when I looked out of the motel room, which was the last one that was available when I was there, when I got in there, it reminded me of that night. It was quiet, and all you saw is white. Wherever you looked, there was nothing else but snow. Other than that, I have never encountered the quiet. There is a majesty in such quiet. It just, you get to yourself. All of a sudden, you're not distracted, and you pay attention, and it's very, very rare. And maybe you will find places when you grow up where it's going to be a little bit of quiet. But then today nobody wants quiet anyhow, so that shouldn't be too big a worry. Well, I'm glad to share this story with you. And I just have to add the date of that night when I made up my mind that I'll take that picture with me for the rest of my life was December 1927. Thank you, sweetheart. I hope you have a good holiday season. Happy Hanukkah. Merry Christmas. Be well, and I love you very, very much. If this didn't come out good, the next one I'll make with your mommy next to me, because I am not very good with tape recorders. And if Mom would make a copy for your cousin Alan, whom I love as much as I love you, you are the two most important things in my life. And if he's going to be interested, then I would like to have him a copy of this. I love you, David. I love you very much. Nana.